Hey folks, we're here at the very first Gridiron Gaming Podcast here in Dallas, Texas at Mavs Gaming Hub. You can see all the craziness going on around me, but I'm here with legendary strength and conditioning coach Bob King, three-time Super Bowl champion. He was a strength conditioning coach of the Dallas Cowboys back in the day.
Back in the day, and we'd like to have that day come back. We're dry right now. We're going to try to make a run for it in 19, so we'll see what happens.
We got some good things to look forward to
with
our
think
Cowboys,
so.
Right?
They're getting the roster right.
Although I do have to be honest with you.
Okay.
As a retired player, I always hated playing the Cowboys.
Yeah,
and you were coaching when I was playing, right? So
you should.
And here's why. Not only did this was the Emmitt Smith, Aikman Cowboys days. We were kicking everybody's butt, but I was kind of like the old school guy that liked to go out on the field.
Right.
After the game, or I'm sorry, out on the field before the game, like hours before, pace the field. It would be nice and quiet typically. Right? Get ready mentally, go through the game. And in Jerry's world, it was always a three-ring circus. There were some cheerleaders and bands.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I went out down in the tunnel one time in the first year with the Cowboys, and I got to the end of the tunnel. It's a long tunnel out of the old Texas Stadium, and you come out, and the sideline is deep with civilians. Deep. I said, who are all these people? And they're season ticket holders, friends, family, loved ones, and neighbors, and it's like unbelievable. The pomp and circumstance that went on, and you mentioned the cheerleaders and just everything you could imagine. If there was space, let's put something in that space.
But that's...
It's showtime. I mean, it was a great fan experience, and for us as staff and players, it was a really good experience.
And then I just remember my younger years coming out there, and there's playing in Dallas has that kind of that mystique behind it, right? Yeah. So you're coming in there and you hear the stories of the hole in the roof so God can watch his team. Like that.
Absolutely.
Doesn't get more intimidating for a Christian, right? Like, this is God's team. I'm in the wrong spot in the first place anyways. But absolutely loved those days. Those teams back then were incredible and incredible to be a part of it. What was it like being a part of those Super Bowl winning teams?
People ask me that, and it was nothing but a fabulous experience. I always thought Jerry took care of everybody real well. I thought I worked with Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, both legendary coaches, and I had nothing but a tremendous experience, a tremendous respect for the organization. And, the stars aligned. The players that came through there were phenomenal, not only in talent, but they were great people. I mean, just by definition, my assignment was I worked with the O&D line in the off-season training predominantly. We took turns doing stuff. But, man, I tell you what, those guys were just athletes. Amazing.
So tell me, were you there when – was it Larry Allen when he did the 700-pound bench?
I would tell stories, but I was not. I was gone there, but we drafted Larry, and the O-line coach came out, and Larry was there for the first day. And he came out and goes, take care of him. He's special. And I did not know Larry, and he wasn't going to make the first. We ran 110s as a conditioning deal, and we had to.
He wasn't going to cut it.
He wasn't going to make. He would make 50, and maybe 3 of those 50 yards. And he was just the most amazing, as you know, talent. But I had a chance to work with guys like that throughout my time there.
Running long distance wasn't his thing.
110 yards was not in Larry's program. I would have guessed that at the end of his senior season last game, that was it until he showed up for that offseason. He just probably, I think, sat down and took a vacation.
Well, I mean, but let's be honest, as not offensive linemen,
if
we're running 100 yards, something really bad happened, right?
That's where the hardest part of my job was on days when the players came out in a little kind of trickle. And one day I was out, and it was just me and Nate Newton. And so
Nate Newton, there you go.
The thing that I didn't like about working with Nate, he didn't let me do my job because he was always talking, cracking jokes. And I couldn't stop laughing.
Right.
And they go, Bob, why I got to do this? I only got to go 3 steps. Bob, why do I got to do this? I only got to go 3 steps. Nate, that's the workout. And he went on, but ultimately he'd get the job done.
Right. Those guys were, I mean, that O-line, I know when I came in the league in 95 in Jacksonville, and just how we looked at that group and just the amount of respect for that O-line unit. Those guys were something
Well, they're well coached,
special.
and NFL was undergoing all their financial changes as far as salary cap and Plan B and things like that. And so we had probably the best two-deep offensive line that any team has ever had. I mean, two deep. That's just unheard of.
Yeah.
You may have 5 with a couple of good subs, but, man, we were just rolling them out there.
Yeah,
Same thing on the
amazing.
D-line, 8 deep, so 2 deep for all 4 positions.
What wins 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
right?
that's what did it. That O-line, I tell you what, and you would know this, but, man, they'd love a nice third quarter, 12 to 14 play drive on the ground. And
right.
So those are good
we
old
dream
days.
of those moments, which aren't happening too often anymore.
Not
These
anymore.
offenses today, that's for sure. So tell me about what you're doing now. Tell me about King Sports. You have an awesome thing you're doing here in Dallas.
We're branched out. I got out of the pro sports and traveling as much as I did with the Mavericks and the Cowboys. And it's King Sports Training, and it's kingsportstraining.com. We just train athletes. And we do have football players come in. Last year I had a guy come in from he didn't go to college. He went from high school to the Knicks, and we trained him for the draft last year. And Mitchell Robinson went in the second round of the New York Knicks. And we had another guy that played in the league, CJ, what was CJ's name? He came in from Indianapolis, local guy, and we still train athletes at all levels. And so, if you have a son or a daughter who's into sports, we'll help them get faster, we'll help them become stronger appropriately for their age sport, that kind of thing. And that's what we do just every day. Right now is our summer program here in Dallas, and here we go.
And it's so key. And you mentioned just the speed training, that quickness and agility. And I have a son that's a chip off the old block, right? And so I was the weight room junkie, right?
Yes.
The 500+ pound bench, and that was back in the day.
That's still
and I look at guys like Larry Allen that blew me out of the water with his 700. I'm like, it was like child's play to him. He was warming up with what I maxed it. But anyways, so my son getting into that now, and as he's 13, so the weight room's a big thing. How much you're bench, how much you're squatting, and I keep telling him, son, I don't care if you can bench press the world. If you are not quick enough and agile enough to get there, to apply it, what's the point?
Well, in my pro career, I had an opportunity to be with the Mavericks, the Cowboys, even the Dallas Burns Soccer Club for a while. But I learned something from the coaches as much as I did the players and other peers of mine. And so I could tell if I learned that I could say, well, this coach, this guy's got a 58-inch vertical. He runs the 40 in one flat. All these things like that. Coach has always the trump card. Can he play? Or
that's right.
If I say he can squat, 4,000 pounds, coach can always say, how's his feet? And those 2 questions dominated my training because I got to know how's his feet. Can he play? That's the film job of the scouts and so forth. But how's his feet is my job. And I'm out training one day with I have Herb Williams as one of my power forwards with Mavericks, and we're taking a break between some running, and I thought, let me ask him. I go, Herb, how do you know when you know when to retire? And he didn't even blink an eye. He goes, when I lose my first step. That comment just not changed, but just took our training in a different direction. And we have a whole speed bag, we call it, of tricks for 0 to 10 training, first step. And if you can't get off the first step,
you're right.
You're beat.
Right.
And so that's what the Dallas line at that time did, where our first step was so good.
For any younger kids listening, it's all the difference in the world as you go through, especially Division I college sports. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing, into the pro elite levels.
Yes.
That speed is the differentiator.
And we've said that for decades. You're exactly right. Speed separates levels. And so what we tell guys is that if, a lot of times there's coaches or parents that Tommy or Susie needs to be bigger, or Tommy or Susie needs to be faster, and they isolate a component. And we just say, look, if you get stronger and faster, you play bigger. So I'm not worried about I can't make you grow any inches taller, and putting weight on you is up to your body, not me. But if you get strong and you get fast, you play bigger.
If you have young kids in the Dallas area or heck anywhere, just spending some time with Coach King here is going to just change your game altogether. I know firsthand through Aaron and the conversations that we've had, and just what you've given to him from a training standpoint is phenomenal. It's anyways, go to kingsportstraining.com.
Yes, sir.
Go hang out with Bob King.
Call me.
He'll get you quick.
All right. Thanks.
Appreciate
it.